We're very blessed to have the Honorable Steve Toth, our state rep in District 15, this last legislative session. Steve started in the marketplace with a family business that he ran with his brother in 1983. And he left that business in 1990 to join Johnson & Johnson. And that was in 1990. In 1999, he left the marketplace to join Fellowship of the Woodlands as an ordained minister of marriage and family life ministries. Then, after that, he went back into the business world a few years later and started 2 companies, and currently he's serving as Vice President of Business Development for the Aston Group. He still serves on several ministry boards while he and his wife Babette, of 30 years marriage, continue to serve families through the marriage and family life counseling that they do. And most of you probably don't know that Steve was very instrumental in working with veterans who come back with post-traumatic stress issues. And maybe he will feel led to tell you a little bit about that, that's something he doesn't brag about much. In 2012, Steve was elected to the Texas legislature, serving the people of House District 15 at South Montgomery County. And during that time, Steve passed over 20 pieces of legislation in an effort to bring greater transparency to government while limiting its growth. Steve is here tonight to talk about the problems relating to high-speed rail here in Texas. So would you please help me welcome Steve?
She didn't read my favorite quote. It's by Grover Norquist. He said, "I don't want to kill government. I just want to shrink it to the size where it's small enough so I can drag it into the bathroom and drown it." And Nancy, one more thing.
Yes.
We always used to hear whenever we saw someone with a big belt buckle, it was, "Big belt buckle, no cattle." Right? So, good you don't have a big belt buckle. So Houston to Dallas, high-speed rail is just one short nap away. 90 minutes, 35 cents maybe, or if Walter were here it would be free. These are all the promises that Texas Central Railway has made. And that's what Texas Central Railway wants you to believe. I'm going to try and get through this in 30 minutes, so I'm actually going to use notes. But that's what they want you to believe. And they also want you to believe that this is something that the state of Texas, that the United States and the world is crying out for, high-speed rail. We got to have high-speed rail. Texas Central Railway is afraid that Texas Central Railway is going to go the same way as the Trans-Texas Corridor. Remember about 10 or 12 years ago when they tried to cut a 1,200-foot swash through the state of Texas from the southern border to the northern border. And they want to make sure that they don't make the same mistakes that the Trans-Texas Corridor made when they instituted that plan. The big issues that we had, there were primarily 3 big issues with the Trans-Texas Corridor. The first was that it was a massive land grab, 1,200 feet wide, and it was going to have residential road travel, it was going to have a separate commercial road travel, it was going to have a bullet train, as well as a commercial rail, as well as a high-speed loop underneath it through internet and Wi-Fi. But it was developed by Sintra S.A. out of Madrid, Spain, which was kind of the tipping point, I think, for a lot of Texans, that the Spanish were going to come in and develop mass transportation through the state of Texas. And here's the third part, on Texas taxpayers, which didn't sit well with anybody. And so Texas Central Railway has been making a point not to make the same mistakes. And what they did first is that they told us that this thing would be running up 45. There wouldn't be any land grab. It would just go up 45. I ran into the lobbyists at the Americans for Prosperity conference in August, and he said, "Steve, you going to get behind this?" And I said, "Probably not." He said, "Steve, going to go right up 45. It's not going to touch anybody's property. And I said, well, I don't like that. I said, because 45 is not wide enough. We need it to be 6 lanes, not 4 lanes. He goes, no, we're going to raise it up above 45. I said, really? Seriously? Like, that's even affordable? Oh, that's what we're going to do. And I said, well, I don't like the idea of tax dollars being used for it. And that's the only way you can make this thing work. We're not going to use any tax dollars. This is all going to be done with private money. Would you still support it? And I said, in that dream, I would support it. But that's not going to happen. That's not reality. Second, what they did was they brought Judge Eccles in from Harris County so that this thing would have a Texas face on it and a local name. And they said, hey, it's going to all be run by Texans. Third, they said it would all be paid for with private investment capital. No tax dollars would be used, no TxDOT money, no federal transportation grants, not even 3P money. 3P money is public-private partnerships. Anytime you hear any kind of thing that's built with private money, it's usually 3P money, where they say to the investors, for every $1,000 you put up, we'll guarantee that 1,000 plus a return on it, so that when this project goes bankrupt, not if, but when it goes bankrupt, we'll pay you back with taxpayer dollars, and we'll guarantee a return on it. It's a bad deal. And last but not least, no federal money would be used of any kind. It would all be done with private investor money. That's what they told us. So, what is the truth? What's the truth? First, TCR knew right from the beginning, Texas Central Railway knew right from the beginning that the thing would not be going up 45. They've known that all along, and even the meeting that I went to, Braden, are you here by any chance? What meeting did we go to? We go to that one in October, or was it November in Huntsville?
I think it was November.
Okay, so as late as November, they were still saying that 45 was an option, that they could go straight up 45. You know why you can't go up 45 with a train that goes 210 miles an hour? It's because if you went around a bend on the train, you'd be stuck to the glass. There are turns on 45 that you can't go in excess of 75 miles an hour. Imagine trying to do it at 210 miles an hour. This thing, in order to get it going, it takes 15 to 20 miles to get the thing up to speed. It takes 10 miles to stop it. If they're coming into a turn, they're going to have to slow down miles and miles before the turn. And then once they make it through the turn, it's going to take them miles and miles and miles to get up to 210 miles an hour again. Just as they're doing that, they're coming into another turn. They have known all along that they could not do the 45 route. But they lied to us to make it more palatable, because they knew right away, as soon as they started talking about grabbing land, we'd have an issue with it. So that means that it's going to be a massive land grab. I have been to 3 town hall meetings so far, one in Huntsville, one in Grimes County, and a separate one in Grimes County that is fighting this thing. And I've heard from so many people that this would just devastate them financially, and it would destroy them. So again, let's talk about this. Let's get back to it. They said this is all going to be done with private, sorry Bob, this is all going to be done with private money. So just who is paying for it? They've repeatedly told us that it's private money. At the Huntsville meeting, there were over 300 people there. At the Grimes County meeting, there were over 400 people at that one. Over and over again, we asked, who's paying for it? Who's footing the bill? And they just refused to tell us. And here's what I've heard at the Capitol, is that this money is coming from the Japanese railway company. They're the ones that have footed the bill for the lobbyists, including Judge Eccles. They're the ones that are putting the money up for it. They're the ones that are going to be selling us the bullet trains. And they freely admit that on the Texas Central Railway website, that the bullet trains are going to be built in Japan. But there's more to it than that, and I believe that there's more money behind this than just the Japanese railway company. We also know that now that TxDOT has contributed a minimum of $2 million to this venture. Kyle Workman, who's Paul Workman's son, State Representative Paul Workman, has seen the documentation that TxDOT has put this money into it. And folks, we should be really angry at TxDOT right now for this, because TxDOT does not have the money to chase after shiny objects. They just don't. The Federal Railroad Administration has not only been at these meetings, but the FRA has actually chaired all of these meetings. The same guy from Washington has flown in to run all these meetings. The FRA has had $30 billion committed to it by the federal government to expand and increase high-speed rail in the United States, and it's believed that between $5 and $10 billion has been earmarked for this project here in Texas. We also know that nothing that has been promised, stated, or decreed by the Texas Central Railway should be taken as gospel. On their website, they actually state this. It's buried deep in the website. It says Texas Central Railway will not be the owner, developer, implementer, or operator of this railroad. So why would you believe anything that they say? It's like buying a ticket for a concert knowing only who the warm-up band's going to be, right? I mean, it's just stupid. We have no idea who's going to run this thing, and they can absolve themselves of anything, really, because they stated on their website, hey, look, we're not responsible for what the ultimate owners, the ultimate operators of this thing are going to do. TCR claims that 9.9 million people a year will use this train. How many people fly right now between Dallas and Houston every year? Trivia question. 1.5 million. Yet 9.9 million are going to come on this train. And what they're saying is that, well, we're going to get a lot of people that drive cars to do this. Let's look at that. So you drive to the train station from the Woodlands or from Katy, and it takes you roughly 45 minutes to get there and $25 to park your car. You then buy a ticket and go through TSA groping, which takes you 30 minutes, and you pay $250 for the train ticket because they admit that the cost of this is going to be equivalent to a plane ticket, round trip. You then board the train and travel to Dallas. 90 minutes, they say. We'll take them at their word with no stops. But they've also told us, too, that they're going to add stops to it. So if you do 30 minutes at a stop at a minimum, you do 3 stops, that's another 90 minutes. You arrive at Dallas, you get your luggage, you rent a car for $175 a day, and it takes you 30 minutes to get from, the train, to get your luggage, to rent your car, which would be really quick. And then you drive to your location, 30 minutes. It's 5.25 hours at $450. How many of you are going to switch from driving to taking a train? You going to do that? I think this is dying.
It's dead.
So, what are the consequences of this if this goes through? By the Federal Railroad Administration's own study, they reveal that anything above 87 decibels is seriously loud, dangerously loud. In fact, they use the word severely loud. So let's put this in context. A jackhammer. If you have a jackhammer, how many of you guys have ever done construction here? Anyone? A jackhammer is 90 decibels. If you've worked a jackhammer over the years, you've got hearing loss if you haven't worn any ear protection. Severe hearing loss. A hammer drill, a concrete hammer drill, is 100 decibels. And again, they're saying that severe noise level is anything 87 decibels and above. Again, jackhammer, 90. Hammer drill, 100. High-speed rail, 95. It's really loud. And that's not what I say, that's what the Federal Railroad Administration says from their own study. They even looked at such things as what effect it would have on animals and nature, grazing, feeding, habitat, mating, and they said it would destroy it. These trains are going to be blowing through your property every 15 minutes at 95 decibels. Think about this a second. Every half hour one goes north, every half hour one goes south, which means that in the middle, anywhere in between, every 15 minutes, you're going to have one of these things blowing through your property. at 95 decibels. One of the people that attended, it's either the Huntsville or the Grimes County meeting, said that they lived near one of these things in Europe. From a quarter-mile away, inside this guy's house, he said, I could not talk on the phone every time the train blew through. Couldn't hear it. Can you imagine the quality of life you'd have living anywhere near one of these things? Thanks, Bob. Trivia question. Next to oil and gas, what's the second largest piece of economic activity in the state of Texas? Agriculture. This would have a severe impact on it.